Good evening, everyone. T-Speaker 222 XRP Future Millionaire with the side bet on XM and Future Digibyte OG. So, guys, actually, it's early AM, 3:42 AM to be exact. And, guys, I have something very special for you since you showed interest. This is something I have in my PDF, something that I hold very dear and treasured, and I've read over many times. We will go over this, and again, if we want to continue, we will go into more detail on other things, but this is the kind of depth that I can give you in anything that we want to do. Another reason why you should subscribe to Tom's Army for $9.99 a month for the members area. I'm going to start putting stuff like this in there and uploading things like this in there as time goes on. So we got a lot to cover in a very short amount of time. So let's get to this. So Wyckoff schematics, visual templates, for market timing decisions. So we're not going to read through all this bullshit at the top, but accumulation and distribution, we already went through all of this. An objective of the Wyckoff method of technical analysis is to improve market timing when established a speculative position in anticipation of a coming move where a favorable reward risk ratio exists to justify taking that position. Trading ranges, TRs, are places where the previous move has been halted and there is relative equilibrium between supply and demand. It is here within the TR that campaigns of accumulation or distribution. So we've discovered accumulation and distribution. So accumulation phases where you would accumulate. So let's go to accumulation. Otherwise, it's going to take us way too long and you guys aren't going to be interested to cover all this shit with me. So it guides us through the trading ranges. So schematic 1 is a basic Wyckoff model for accumulation. Phase A, supply has been dominant and it appears that finally the exhaustion of supply is becoming evident. So here's phase A through E. Phase A through E, so trading ranges passes as conceptualized. Wyckoff method and explained in the text. Trading range or lines A and B are accumulations. Okay. So back through here. Trading ranges line C and D define resistance of trading range. Preliminary support is where substantial buying begins to provided pronounced support after prolonged downward volume and spread widen and provide a signal that the down move may be approaching its end. Selling climax. Well, this isn't a selling climax. This isn't the kind of climax I'm used to. Well, I'm not used to any, am I? On the charts, I'm used to massaging it to a climax. The point at which widening spread and selling pressure usually climaxes in heavy or panicky selling by the public is being absorbed by larger professional interests at prices near a bottom. Automatic rally selling pressure has been pretty much exhausted. A wave of buying can now easily push up prices, which, further fueled by short covering the high of this rally, will help to find the top of the trading range. And then we got secondary tests. Revisit the area of the selling climax to test the supply-demand balance at these price levels. This guy was really massaging the charts with these. I'm telling you, man, this guy was really massaging the charts with this terminology. Should not resurface and volume price spread should be significantly diminished as the market approaches support in the area of the SC. The creek is an analogy. All right, let's see. What else do we have? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So, where were we at? Resurface, the market approaches support, blah, 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 selling, blah, blah, blah. So, I think that's good for the selling climax. Trading range. Okay, so the springs of shakeouts usually occur late within the trading range and allow the market and its dominant players to make a definitive test of available supply before a markup campaign will unfold. If the amount of supply that surfaces on a break of support is very light, low volume, and sustained advance, heavy supply here will usually mean a renewed decline. Moderate volume here may mean more testing of support and to proceed with caution. The spring or shakeout also serves the purpose of providing dominant interest with additional supply from weak holders at low prices. Jump across the creek jack is a continuation of the creek analogy of jumping resistance and is a good sign if done on good spread and volume, a sign of strength, and advance on good increasing spread and volume back up to a low point of support, a pullback to support, and that's basically what we always talk about. Long positions are to add to profitable ones. So here's a diagram of the accumulation phase, and basically that is showing you everything they just talked about above. So when I tell you the technical analysis side, there's a lot that goes into it. And I hope this helps us clear it up just a little bit of what goes through our heads when we're trying to do technical analysis. So then it basically just tells you all the support and it's telling you all that bullshit. We ain't got time for all that. I don't got time for all of that. So basically what I want to do is go through a couple pages, and then if you guys are still interested, you let me know and we'll do a part 3 tomorrow. That's just the way it's going to go, because this is a lot of information. So we'll go through the schematics and then I'll end it. But we're going to go through the entire schematics on this page. And then if you guys are still showing interest, I'm going to continue on to page 3 and 4, and we'll do 2 pages a night, because there is a lot of information. And I would love to go through all this with you guys, so I'm not going to rush it. We're just going to read through all of this. Schematic 1. I believe there's 5 schematics. Well, they're going to show us a couple of them. So yeah, guys, if you keep showing interest, I'm going to go through this whole fucking thing with you. I've read over this so many times, and it's one of the... I love this fucking PDF file. I mean, if you guys want it and you're showing interest, if we get to the... Don't ask for it now. If you guys are with me at the end and you want this at the end of... If it takes 4 days for us to do this, I'll give you guys each of this. If you guys personally, message me. Don't do it now, though. Otherwise, you're not getting it. You got to watch every single one of them. So let's continue. Schematic 1. Phase A will instead look more like Phase A of the basic Wyckoff distribution schematic described later in the article under Schematic 2 or 3, but nonetheless, Phase A still represents the area of the stopping of the previous move. The analysis of Phase B through E would generally proceed in the same way as within an initial base area of accumulation. In Phase B, supply and demand on a major basis are in equilibrium and there is no decisive trend. The clues to the further course of the market are usually more mixed and elusive. However, here are some useful generalizations. In the early stage of Phase B, the price swings tend to be rather wide and volume is usually greater and more erratic. As the TR unfolds, supply becomes weaker and demand stronger as professionals are absorbed supply. The closer you get to the end TR volume unfold, because they had their terminology, and I know, I always think of trend reversals with TR, but they have trading, what does it say in this? Trading range. So let's see where we're at. Trading range, leaving the trading range, volume tends to diminish. Support and resistance lines shown as horizontal lines A, B, C, and D. The accumulation schematic 1 usually contains the price in Phase C, usually contain the price action in Phase B and help define the testing process that is to come in Phase C. The penetrations or lack of penetrations of the trading range enable us to judge the quantity and quality of supply and demand. In Phase C, stock goes through a testing process. The stock may begin to come out of the trading range on the upside with higher tops and bottoms, or it may go through a downside spring or shakeout, breaking previous supports. This latter test is preferred given that it does a better job of cleaning out remaining supply from weak holders and creates a false impression as to the direction of the ultimate move. Schematic 1 shows us an example of the latter alternative. A spring is a price move below the support level of a trading range that quickly reverses and moves back in range. A spring is an example of a bear trap because the drop below support appears to signal resumption of the downtrend. In reality, though, the drop marks the end of the downtrend, thus trapping the late sellers or bears. The extent of supply or the strength of the sellers can be judged by the depth of the price, move to new lows, and the relative level of volume on that penetration. Until this testing process, we cannot be sure the trading range is accumulation and must wait to take a position until there is sufficient evidence that markup is about to begin. If we have waited and followed the unfolding trading range closely, we have arrived at the point where we can be quite confident of the Probable upward move with supply apparently exhausted and our danger point pinpointed. Our likelihood of success is good and our reward/risk ratio favorable. The shakeout at 0.8 on our schematic 1 represents our first prescribed place. What was it? Schematic A. So 0.8. So that's down at the bottom of the W. So it shows you a breakout. So, okay. And make sure we get to where we're at. Shakeout at 0.8, schematic 1 represents our first prescribed place. The secondary test at 0.10 is better since a low volume pullback and a specific low risk stop or danger point. 0.8 gives us. So, yeah, guys, you guys are going to need this at the end of all of this so you can actually look at this if you're interested. But this would come after. This is going to take a while to get through all of this. If we are correct in our analysis and our timing, what should follow here is a consistent dominance of demand. So let's go look at this real quick. So they said 0.10. So let's get to 0.10. I want you guys to see this. Just look through this real quick. Sean sending me a message. So let it sink in, because we're going to be reading through the sign of strength right now. I believe it said it's number 12, no, number 10. So we're at number 10, and that's the sign of strength. So try to remember what that looks like in your head. And now let's go back down here. I know this is fucking a lot of shit, guys, and I know. So it says we have number, I want to make sure we have this when we go through it. We have number 10 and number 8. So we've got the breakout at number 8 and number 10. Alright, so we have, if we are correct in our analysis, what should follow is consistent dominance of demand over supply as evidenced by a pattern of advances, sign of strengths on widening spreads, and increasing volume and reactions of, I don't even know what LPS is, and this fucking Wyckoff, I can't remember. Where the hell is this at? Oh yeah, it's up here. So LPS is last point of support. See, so resistance and support. So we have pattern of advances, sign of strength on widening spreads and increasing volume reactions. Last point of support on smaller spreads, that's what we're going to call it, and diminished volumes. If this pattern does not occur, then we are advised not to add. Sean getting in the video. Look at this guy. To add to our position and look to close our original position until we have more conclusive evidence that markup is beginning. If the market or stock progress as stated above, then we have additional opportunities to add to our position. Our aim here is to initiate a position or add to our position as the stock or commodity is about to leave the trading range. At this point, the force of accumulation has built. So now, guys, you can see you can use the Wyckoff on the commodity market as well, as it just said. Built a good potential and could be projected by using the Wyckoff point and figure method. We have waited until this point to initiate or add to our position in an effort to increase our likelihood of success and maximize the use of our trading capital. In schematic 1, this opportunity comes at 0.12 on the pullback, the support after jumping resistance. So you can see there's a little bit, but that could come at a very detrimental, because it looks like we're building the end of the pattern. But that's, you know, you got that last push up at least, and you can, that's a position up and down. So anyhow, so this opportunity comes at 0.12. Pullback to support after jumping resistance. So in Wyckoff terms, this is known as backing up to the edge of the creek after jumping across the creek. Another similar opportunity comes at 0.14, a more important point of support and of resistance. See sidebar. Okay. that's going to be farther. All right, so let's go to schematic 1. Let's go to phase E. And then after this, I'll let you guys go once we get across the jump to creek analogy. In phase E, the stock leaves the trading range and demand is in control. Sets back the unpronounced and short-lived. Setbacks are unpronounced and short-lived. Having taken our positions, our job is to monitor the stock's progress as it works out its force of accumulation at each of the points 8, 10, 12, and 14. So we can see at 8, 10, 12, and 14. 8, it jumps up. 10, it makes another jump. 12, it makes another jump. And then 14, we will have to guess. But yeah, you guys get that tomorrow. The rest of that. So, and then we may take our positions and use point and figure counts for these points to calculate price projections and figure counts, or help us to determine our reward/risk prior to establishing our speculative position. These projections will also be useful later in helping us target our areas for closing or adjusting our positions. Remember that schematic 1 shows us just one idealized model or anatomy of a trading range encompassing the accumulation process. Very interesting this is. This whole thing has been very fascinating. Even me reading over this again has been very fascinating and educational. These are many variations of this accumulation anatomy, and we are addressed some of these considerations earlier. The presence of a Wyckoff principle, like a selling climax, doesn't confirm that accumulating is occurring in the trading range, but it does strengthen the case for it. However, it may be accumulation, redistribution, or nothing. The use of Wyckoff principles and phases identifies and defines some of the key considerations for evaluating most trading ranges and helps us determine whether it is supply or demand that is becoming dominant and when the stock appears ready to leave the trading range. So we're going to read this, and then we're going to get into distribution tomorrow, because distribution goes on for schematic 2. So we're just reading through schematic 1 right now. So let's read the jump across the creek analogy, and then we'll defining the jump, and then I'll let you guys go. The jump across the creek analogy. The term jump was first used by Robert G. Evans, who piloted the Wyckoff Associates educational enterprise for numerous years after the death of Richard D. Wyckoff. One of his more captivating analogies was the jump across the creek story he used to explain how a market would break out of a trading range. In the story, the market is symbolized by a Boy Scout and the trading range by a meandering creek with its upper resistance line defined by the rally peaks within the range. After probing the edge of the creek and discovering that the flow of supply was starting to dry up, the Boy Scout would retreat in order to get a running start to jump across the creek. The power of the movement by the Boy Scout would be measured by price, spread, and volume. That's fascinating. Defining the jump. A jump is a relatively wider price spread made on comparatively higher volume that penetrates outer resistance or support. A backup is a test that immediately follows the jump. A relatively narrow price spread reaction or rally on comparatively lighter volume that tests and confirms the legitimacy of the preceding jump action. The Wyckoff method instructs you to buy after a backup following an upward jump, a sign of strength, or to sell short after a backup following. Should not buy breakouts. Oh, wait a minute. Backup following a downward jump, a sign of weakness. Also, according to Wyckoff, you should not buy breakouts because that would leave you vulnerable to swift moves in the opposite direction of the breakout turned out to be false. Hence, at first glance, the Wyckoff method appears to be telling you to buy into weakness and sell into strength. So, we're going to leave that there. We'll go into distribution tomorrow, and we'll go through schematic 2, and possibly, we're going to have to go through 2 pages, just like we just did. We're going to go through 2 pages tomorrow, and if we can get through a little bit faster, 1, 2, 1. Nope, we're going to have to, it's probably going to take 2 more days, possibly 1 more, but no, it's going to take 2 because we got a lot more stuff to go over when it comes to charts as well. So this is fascinating stuff, guys. So once we get through this, I'll let you guys all have the PDF. If you're interested, I'll let you know how to get it after. So T-Speaker 222 XRP Future Millionaire with the side bet on XM and Future Digibot OG. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the Overnight Radio Show. If I get one person that really takes this to heart, and if you actually tell me after this, please comment and tell me you want to see part 3 of the Wyckoff schematic, or part 2 of the Wyckoff schematics. Just say you want part 3 of the Wyckoff. You know, you can say that, or part 3 of the Wyckoff schematics. Yeah, that's fine. Part 3 of the Wyckoff schematics. I just want to see if you guys want it in chat. Because if not, you know, I'm very, very entertained by this kind of stuff. Not just entertained, but it's actually stuff that each and every one of you need to learn. At least have it part of your vocabulary, to where, what I mean by that is you see it and you're like, holy shit, I know what this is. I've read about this with the Wyckoff. And I seen it in the schematics. I know exactly what kind of pattern we're in. I know exactly that this is the accumulating phase or the selling phase. So, if you guys want to donate to the channel, the link's in the description. But most importantly, if you want to subscribe to the channel, oh man, I worked today. I taught my class today as well. If you guys want to subscribe to Tom's Army, you know, get me here full time so I don't have to teach technical analysis classes anymore. And let me unleash my gift to everybody right here on YouTube. So, like I said, again, I appreciate you guys tuning in to the Overnight Radio Show. 7 days a week, 3:42 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I really look forward to it. Until tomorrow morning, you guys drive safe to work. I hope you guys are getting some rest if it's late evening and wherever you live. But most importantly, guys, we have to do good and we have to do better. We have to be good. Be good, do better. Hashtag be good, do better in my chat. That's the new motto of this community. Hashtag be good, do better.